Well, welcome back to another episode of Red Tinted Glasses. The inaugural Scott Brown derby ended 1-1 last night. We are delighted, I hope is the right word, to be joined by Colin Watt from the Football Insomniac podcast. Colin, welcome back to the show.
All right, guys, how's it going? He's got over that last minute equaliser then.
Callum
hasn't.
No, to be honest, I'm still thinking about every last detail of the games going through my head. It was painful. Yeah,
there was such an sense of inevitability when Messrs Rogic and Griffiths entered the pitch that one of them was going to have to do something.
Mm-hmm. It was like I was going to say those two players must be the ultimate nightmare for any Aberdeen fan, just with everything that's happened over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say it was like the Grim Reaper on the touchline there. We just knew something was going to come. It was bad.
It really was. But you know, at the start of the game, when we seen the team line up with two strikers in the starting 11 and experience across the back four. Gary Woods, as we thought would come in for Joe Lewis, but there was positivity ahead of this game, which is very rare.
I know, I was absolutely buzzing. I was less buzzing when I saw the Celtic team, not quite as rotated as I would have liked, but oh well. But no, very happy with the lineup going into it, and even the lads that came off the bench through no fault of their own, some of them did very, very well. I was very, very impressed.
Yeah, and Colin, I suppose, were you surprised at kind of how strong Celtic lined up? Because I was listening to your Wednesday bulletin on a Celtic state of mind, and you guys were chatting through kind of expecting some of these fringe players to play. So yeah, like Callum, I was very shocked to see a pretty much full strength, albeit Ayer obviously picking up an injury and not playing.
Yeah, I think John Kennedy sort of hoodwinked us all when he said in his press conference on Tuesday that he's going to try and introduce some changes throughout the team. Clearly he wasn't meaning the Aberdeen game, as we saw. The only change really being near Beaton coming back into the side. And yeah, the lineup didn't go down too well across the kind of Celtic fan base. I think a lot of people were expecting some of these guys to get a bit of a run out, and as we saw later on in the game, when you keep Karamoko Dembele on the bench for 80 minutes and you only give him 10 minutes, just look what you can do. So why aren't these guys getting a bit more of a chance? There's only a couple of games left in the season. It's as if Kennedy still thinks he has a chance of getting the job, I think. Yeah,
and as I think you guys said on Wednesday, I don't think he does really have much of a hope. But Callum, you know, we started the game really well, and I suppose the one thing that Colin touched on there, near Beaton coming into the Celtic lineup, allowed Dave McDermott to test out his French accent with that very weird pronunciation.
I'm glad it wasn't just me that picked up on that, by the way.
Oh, everyone picked up on it.
It was so annoying. Beaton, what are you doing, mate? What are you doing? He's from Israel. He's not French.
It just reminded me of that Kieran Tierney video, Sapnin Beaton, every time he said it.
I'd actually rather Dave McDermott did that every time he said it than he went Beaton.
But no, Callum, an exciting start, and it was great to see us put Celtic under pressure early on. Lewis Ferguson forcing Scott Bain into a really good save, tipping a header onto the bar.
Yeah, very, very unlike us to put Celtic under early pressure, in honesty. If that one had gone in, that would be the perfect start. Very, very good. It's annoying knowing we've seen Scott Bain concede 7 goals to Aberdeen and then he's doing stuff like that. It just really pisses me off, to be honest.
And Colin, you know, you guys were maybe hoping to see Barkas get some game time. I know Scott Bain's not wildly popular amongst the Celtic support, but he made a couple of crucial stops, that one, and again from Ferguson at 1-0 as well.
Yeah, he's definitely someone who is limited in his capabilities. But he has improved as a goalkeeper since he joined Celtic. That can't be denied, as Callum says. Conceding 7 against Aberdeen previously when he was at Dundee, it just shows you how far he's came. I think he is a very capable Scottish Premiership goalkeeper, but when you spent the money on Barkas the way that Celtic have spent it, you're expecting to see if we can maybe get something out of him. Scott Bain will always be a number 2 at a club like Celtic, whereas who knows, maybe if Joe Lewis was to move on in the summer, would Scott Bain be a decent replacement up there at Pittodrie?
I don't think he'd come back to Aberdeen with the way he left. I think burnt bridges is what I would say on that.
Maybe there's some more interesting names we can link to Aberdeen later on in the podcast, like we discussed off air.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to really sour your popularity on this show any further. Callum, though, we saw, Colin was hoping to see some Celtic youngsters. Celtic fans will have been made very aware of Calvin Ramsey getting on early for Ross McCrory, who went off with a knock. A stunning performance from him, really, in coming on so early in that game and causing Greg Taylor endless problems, I thought, in the first half, and linking up with Matty Kennedy really well.
100%. For being a 17-year-old kid coming in a game like that as well and showing confidence on the ball going forward, good bravery, and being pretty decent defensively as well. And like, there was a couple of times where he made a mistake, but he made up for them, most importantly as well. Very, very positive signs. Looking forward to seeing him develop in an Aberdeen shirt, and definitely the rest of this season, especially going into next season too.
And I suppose, Colin, wing-backs was a big issue in the Old Firm game on Sunday. You said would unlikely see Diego Laxalt. Greg Taylor came in. We spoke in the preview show about maybe a late stake in a claim for a Scotland shirt. I think that's long gone after that performance.
Yeah, it wasn't one of his best nights in a Celtic jersey, and it's typically un-Greg Taylor-like, because you do normally get a sort of 6 or a 7 out of a 10 with him. But as you said, Calvin Ramsey was outstanding when he came on. It wasn't someone that I'd seen play before, so he really did catch the eye. And when I found out he was only 17, I was really, really surprised. It seems as if it's a really good talent coming through there. And that can only be good for Aberdeen going forward, because I think, as we spoke about in the previous show, there's quite a few players that sort of coming towards the latter stages of their career. So you're wanting to bring through these young players that can work alongside them, gain the experience, and then, I don't know, maybe they'll move on for a bit of money, or maybe they'll become a mainstay at the club. But either way, I think it'll be good for Aberdeen.
Yeah, and Callum, we put Celtic under lots of pressure early on, and it was great that pressure finally paid off. And we got a coach that's been working with England and improving their strikers, improving their set-piece plays. 2 games in, we finally scored a set-piece goal.
Bloody paying off, and about bloody time we've bloody scored a set-piece. They infuriate me so much, but no, very much a welcome sign. And seeing Considine getting up there, getting the flick on for Ferguson there, superb. I've absolutely loved it, and I got very, very excited in the living room, to say the least.
So did I.
Yeah, but
I'm glad I didn't wake Rory up celebrating this time. But Colin, from your point of view, or a Celtic point of view, the Achilles heel strikes again, conceding from a set piece.
Honestly, we should ban set pieces from football the way that Celtic have been defending them this season. I think it's the stat is something along the lines of 70% of the goals that Celtic have conceded this season have came from set pieces. So it's been absolutely ridiculous. Once that coach is finished at Aberdeen, do you think he could come and show us how to defend set pieces? Because we could really be doing them. No, come on, please, do us a wee favour. We'll give you Scott Brown. No, but honestly, it was pretty much a carbon copy of the goal that we conceded against Rangers when Morelos snipped in at the back post. Again, Celtic don't have a man on the post, and that's such an easy area to target. Ferguson just in the right area at the right time to kind of knock it over the line. He was only about a yard out in the end. Considine doing well to get up and win the ball in the air, and Ferguson trying to prove me wrong after what I was said about him in the previous show. So fair play to him. What was it? The first goal since October though?
First league goal since October. Yeah,
You've got to see that after that performance he put in last night, you're expecting him to do that more and more often, and then he will finally live up to the reputation that he's going to set for himself.
Yeah, I wonder if he was listening to the preview show with Tea and Biscuits, hearing you saying he flatters to deceive, because it was certainly one of his best performances in probably since the whole COVID incident, Callum. And like Colin says, it's something that we do need on a regular basis from him, but yeah, good time to show it.
100%, almost playing as if he was trying to keep a certain Mr. Brown out of the team in future. You never know. But no, a very much welcome sight, seeing him get forward and attack so much, break forward from midfield, get up and support. It's something it's probably one of his best tributes, getting up in support of the forwards, and something we've not seen nearly enough from him. But very much welcome sight. Could have had about 3 or 4, mind you. I wish he had. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, maybe on another day. But hopefully, we can see more of that sort of thing going forward.
Whenever we play the Old Firm, I always get concerned when we score early doors, because I tend to think we end up sitting on a 1-0. And the way the first half went on, we let Celtic back into the game, and Odsonne Edouard missing some very gilt-edged chances. Gary Wood's producing a fine save from him, albeit I know the shot was straight at him, some people will say, but you still got to keep them out. Is this another frustrating performance from Odsonne Edouard for you, Colin?
It felt as if it was another performance that was just dialed in. He just wasn't kind of 100% there last night. That shot in against Gary Woods that you're talking about, it was so powder puff. It wasn't as if he put any force behind it. He didn't even try to place it. It was just get the shot away. The ball over the top that he connected with, puts it any other side of Gary Woods, and it's an equaliser. There's another couple of chances that he had, and it just feels as if he doesn't take the first one, he's just not in the mood at all, and he just doesn't get into a rhythm. I think he is kind of counting his days now before he leaves Celtic, but you still hope that when you're paying him that kind of money that he'll put in a fairly decent performance and not the kind of what he's been putting in over the last few weeks. So it's a real shame for him to go out in the way that he's heading. But I mean, that's only from a Celtic perspective. I'm sure you Aberdeen fans are delighted that he didn't go on the score sheet last night.
Yeah, we were, and I suppose even with him missing chances, Ryan Christie came close, and Callum, we saw Lewis Ferguson up at the other end of the pitch, clearing the ball off the line. And I think, up until I know we're going to come to it, right at the death, we were bodies on the line, getting blocks and closing down the man. There was a lot of fight in this team that we haven't seen for a long, long time in general, let alone against Celtic.
It was very unusual, first of all, but very much welcome. Players putting bodies on the line in any game, that's what you want to see. Let it go alone against one of Celtic or Rangers. That's the type of thing, exactly what you want to see, especially Aberdeen fan. But need more of it. Need more of it going forward. Need more of it going towards the end of the season in the Scottish Cup as well. Still got third to fight for, kind of.
Don't think so anymore.
But if we are going to get there, that's the type of performance they need to put in. Bad time there, Glen having to drink of water for anyone listening at home.
No, it was very true, and I think as the first half kind of went on with the chances that Celtic were throwing away, let's be brutally honest, it really felt that we needed to get in at half time, kind of regroup and go again. I think we were fairly solid, but Colin, did you expect Celtic to come out in the manner that they did, all guns blazing, or? Because I felt it was kind of backs to the wall for us at the start of the second half.
I mean, you're kind of hoping that you get some sort of response from the team, and you saw it for phases at the start of the second half. I still don't think Celtic got to the level that they're absolutely capable of reaching. Going back to the first half, I mean, the best chance arguably is the one cleared off the line where Ryan Christie actually meets the header. And then Odsonne Edouard, when he puts the ball in the back of the net, I've still not seen an angle to see whether it's offside or onside. Do you know what I mean? It was very convenient of Red TV and Sportscene not to show another angle. No, I'm just kidding. But no, Celtic did come out and were the better side for the first probably 10, 15 minutes of the second half. But it's just one of those games that if you don't get the goal early on, it just could potentially not be your night. We've seen that so many times with Celtic this season. I think back to the game at Tannadice where they had the best part of 30 chances on goal and didn't take one of them. It finishes 0-0. And you get those games and you're sitting watching it going, it's just another one. It's just, we're not going to score. And I was genuinely pleasantly surprised when the goal came along.
I was and I wasn't, because Celtic are a team you just can't rule out, and especially against Aberdeen with their scoring, and 23 shots last night, but that goal just extends the run of, it's 38 games now, 20 years that you've gone scoring in consecutive games at Pittodrie. Quite a phenomenal stat. But chances kept coming for Celtic. David Turnbull probably really guilty when he smacks the crossbar. Should really be doing better there. Callum, did you think we were riding our luck at times?
Yes, 100% at times, yeah. If they felt that toward the last 15 minutes of the first half, let alone the second half, Celtic came out, they were zipping the ball a little bit more, first 15 minutes, I would say. Then maybe went a bit more slow, a bit more turgid again. But we were giving away a lot of chances. We were defending a little bit better than I think we have been. I think in previous seasons, we might have collapsed a little bit earlier than we did. But we didn't.
Yeah.
We still did collapse, but...
Yeah, the way the game went last night, it was like, we kind of spoke this briefly before recording, was the game having no fans, because at periods in that second half when it was kind of all Celtic, you thought this really needs the Red Army there to kind of push the players up the pitch. But there's incidents we're going to come on to where crowds in the game, would that affect the refereeing decisions? But equally, I'm also glad there wasn't crowd. There's me and you, Callum, with our seats right next to the away end. I could not have put up with them celebrating wildly at an equaliser.
Honestly, guys, I don't even know how wild the celebrations would have been. I mean, generally, the overall response from Celtic fans was like, okay, so, brilliant. Yeah, let's go. I think it's kind of got to that point now where the season's done. But you know yourself, when Celtic fans travel, it's a long journey up to Aberdeen. And it's not just tea and biscuits that they're drinking on the buses. So it probably would have been a fairly exuberant celebration, whether it mattered much or not.
No. In the midfield battle was always going to be key. Colin, we've spoke about whether Scott Brown would or wouldn't play. He did play for Celtic, and in that second half especially, I thought he was really good for Celtic in terms of recycling the possession, starting the attack, spraying the ball out wide. And it was kind of, for me, an indication of what we've potentially got to look forward to next season.
Yeah, it was showing that he still had the ability in him to kind of play at a very high level. And as you said, he was very quick to get the ball out to the players that were going to run on to the ball. He also nearly had his first Aberdeen assist when he played in Lewis Ferguson. I really thought he should have put that one away. But I think you can't underestimate the influence that Scott Brown will have at Aberdeen next season. You want to be in that position as Aberdeen next year. You want to be that he's the last man there. He's the man in front of the defence who gives the ball to the rest of the team and tells them, get forward and create something. And you know that if the ball comes out on the break, he's there to sort of sweep it up and recycle possession and get it back. Because you look at it, I think Aberdeen's play this season hasn't been the most exciting. As we spoke about in the previous show, they're not scoring enough goals. You're on the back foot far too often for a team that wants to be as high up in the table as they are. The amount of points that's dropped to teams like St Mirren, like Hamilton, like teams that you really shouldn't be dropping points to. If you've got that midfield general in Scott Brown, you'd like to think that some of those results that were draws could easily turn into victories and pick up the odd point against the bigger teams here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you touched on it there, Callum, in the first half of Lewis Ferguson's performance. But equally, Dean Campbell as well. Our centre midfielders proving to the manager that they're more than capable of filling in for Scott Brown and maybe keeping him on the touchline as a coach instead, because Dean Campbell got Red TV man of the match, but I don't think you could really argue with it. But I personally would have given it to Lewis Ferguson.
Yeah, I was going to say... Scott Brown, no Dean Campbell, but I mean he did okay. We'll give him it. Encouraging, very very encouraging from the both of them. Obviously, you've got McCrory was at right back as well, but you can't ignore him either. Good, very very impressive in a big game against Celtic. With will be a lot to play for, and they didn't shy away from it. They're looking brave on the ball. They're getting forward as well, and Dean Campbell in the pivot role, as he said in his interview. Sort of sounding very much like a Scott Brown role, but maybe it'll be between them for when he comes from Pittodrie. Who knows?
Callum, do you not think though that if next season, for example, Glen was just saying Scott Brown might be on the bench perhaps, when you get to that sort of 70, 75 minute stage, that's when you want to turn to a Scott Brown to help you see out the game. And that's probably one of the things that Aberdeen didn't have last night. They didn't have someone they could turn to say, look, it's 1-0, help us see this game out.
You don't think Dylan McGeoch is that man? No. And yeah, to be honest, I think if we had Scott Brown come off the bench for the last 15 minutes, probably would have won the game. Probably would have seen it out. But it could be very interesting. And it will also be good for players like Campbell and Ferguson too, to learn off him as well. But it's still annoying me.
I mean, if we took our chances, we probably wouldn't have needed that Scott Brown in the last 10, 15 minutes.
Don't remind me. This is painful, honestly. This is painful.
But, you make a good point there, Callum, about the Dean Campbell interview. They showed it pre-match on Red TV. For those of you that haven't watched the full 9 minutes, because Red TV did cut it down before the game last night, I do urge you to watch it because it is a really good interview. He speaks, as Callum there says, about the role Stephen Glass has given him, the pivot. I used the word recycling the play, which was what Scott Brown was doing last night. That's the role that Stephen Glass wants for Dean Campbell. But also he is asked about Scott Brown's arrival to the club and what his thoughts was on how much he will help him develop and make him a better player. He's not thinking about he's going to keep me out of the team. He's already thinking how a player of Scott Brown's stature can take him to the next level. And I think that's something that we've discussed, Callum. That's going to really help the young players. And those of you that listen to Open Goal will have heard Cy Ferry's stories of him with youth players at Celtic. We need that not only mentality, but someone to develop and bring on those young players that we've got.
100%. I think that's probably one of the main benefits of Scott Brown signing, the effect he can have on the other young players around him. And it's very much every young player needs a mentor. And to be fair, of all the ones you could pick in the Scottish game, there's not one you could pick that would probably be better than Scott Brown, given all that he's won, is there?
Exactly, yeah. And I think, it's maybe fair, we were leggy in the midfield as the game wore on. Is Dylan McGeoch the right person for that role? But at his age, he's a similar age to Scott Brown. But, so I suppose as you maybe say, Colin, or you probably know, from years of watching Scott Brown, he's got that tactical know-how on breaking up the game.
Yeah, definitely. He doesn't have the sort of pace that he once had, and he was never the quickest player, but he does get himself in the right positions. He's, I think over this season I've seen him kind of not win as many 50-50s, and I don't know if that's just been the way that Celtic's played this season, but he's always one that's tough into the battle, and he'll give 100% for the cause no matter who he's playing for, and I'm sure you'll see that for Aberdeen next season. I still think you'll definitely get next season out of him. I don't know if the following season's a bit of a push, but even at that, to get a season out of him, as Callum says, with everything that he's won, you're hoping that he can install that mentality within the Aberdeen side, and you've got to sort of bounce back and really push for third next season, if not maybe even higher.
Third, we're going for the league. We're winning it all next season.
Stephen Glass's Showtime Reds are back, baby.
I mean, Celtic are going to be... You'll be lucky to fight for third at this rate, the way you're going.
The way it's going at the minute, I don't even know if we'll have a five-a-side team by the time the season starts back up.
Well, I was thinking that. Sorry, I was looking at that Celtic team and thinking they require major surgery, far more than we do. It'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Well, I did enjoy some of the comments on your show on Wednesday saying, just get the women in, they'll put in more of an effort.
Got to say, big shout out to the Celtic women's team. We watched that on a Celtic State of Mind for the channel, and that performance against Rangers women was very impressive. And it was... sorry, Glen, on you go.
No, on you go, sorry.
I was just saying it was a great finish from Mariah Lee. So 2 on the bounce against Rangers, and maybe the league title isn't out of Celtic's grasp, but for the women.
Yeah, and well, you never know. Hopefully, the Aberdeen women can win their league and be fighting against Celtic and Rangers next season as well, because I know they're going great guns in SWPL 2 as well. Now, there was a very contentious issue in the game last night. Well, maybe one or two.
Which one?
We're going to go for the one that Callum feels was a red card. For me, it's not a penalty. The contact is outside the box. It's the Johnny Hayes and Callum McGregor coming together, I'm going to call it. For me, Johnny Hayes goes looking for the contact. He should do a lot better. Should just he kind of slows down. I don't know if he takes a poor touch or there's a bad bobble, but Callum, I'll let you go first because I know you think this is a red card.
I was absolutely livid last night. I was absolutely livid. First of all, 100% Johnny Hayes should score through on goal. I think might say minimal contact, but when you're travelling at that speed, Johnny Hayes at that speed, it doesn't need to be that much contact for force you to go down, especially when Callum McGregor comes charging in at that speed as well. And if we're speaking about minimal contact, let's take our minds back a little bit to Ryan Hedges getting sent off against Rangers. Tiny bit of contact, went down, red card. Oh, flip side, we don't get it. J. Manuel Tommy.
Brother beaten, he's not going to let that one slide.
Very true, but Colin, absolute shocker. We'll get on to the next one, which is even worse. But Colin, what did you make of that with Callum McGregor?
First of all, to say that Johnny Hayes was going at some speed is a bit of an overstatement to him. You could see the old legs were finally coming in as they get closer and closer to the box. The fact that Callum McGregor gave him a 10-yard head start and still caught up with him. But let's be honest, what are Celtic doing? The last defender is like 10 yards from the halfway line.
True.
And Greg Taylor, and still loses the ball. Johnny Hayes has got like 60 yards, 70 yards to cover before he gets to the box. He was knackered by the time he got there. You could see that. He just didn't have it in him. I still think even if somebody wasn't there, I'm not sure they'd put it past Scott Bain because he was already looking as if he was kind of stumbling over himself. You want to interject here?
I know, like you put your hand up. This isn't
just. I don't know. Just. Not to reply, but in roles reversed, are you telling me that, or if that's a Parkhead and the other way around as well, that's not going to be a red card? Willie Collum's not going to put his hand in his pocket there.
Honestly, see, having watched it back a couple of times, I would be annoyed if that was given as a penalty. One, as Glen says, the contact's outside the box, right? He does then carry on into the box. So if anything's going to get pulled back, it'll be a free kick. It'll be a last man, and he will be sent off. I would be really annoyed at that if that happened because I don't think there was enough in it for it to be a foul. He's kind of getting his body in front of Hayes, and he's at that point already starting to go down. If you conceded a free kick or a penalty like that yourself, Callum, you'd be annoyed if it was the other way around. The problem you've got in this scenario is he's almost through one-on-one with Bain. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you have that sort of tackle in the middle of the park, you're going to be so annoyed if that's a foul. It's just the difference here is Aberdeen should have went on to score and make it 2-0. So I think the kind of annoyance of that not happening, coming to the being the last man, I can understand it, but I really just don't think it was anything more than what was given. And watching back the highlights last night, I think the pundits kind of agreed with that as well.
We're never going to come to an agreement here.
I'll play devil's advocate and say I see both sides of the argument here. I just think the way Johnny slows down, whether it's he's tired or I don't know if he is trying to insinuate the contact to get a red card and think, look, we've got a better chance of, because we were catching you guys on the counter.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just wonder if he thought, well, if we get them down to 10, we'll have a better opportunity of doing that. But I think, I did, if it was the other way around. But this is where I think if fans had been in the ground, we might have seen a red card. Yeah,
I wouldn't have been surprised. I mean, Pittodrie can have a fantastic atmosphere at times, and I've seen it before when there's been tackles and you're going, there's nothing in that, but the crowd roars, and everyone says it's only at Celtic Park in Ibrox. It's not. When you go to Tynecastle, when you go to Pittodrie, the fans can have a massive influence on the way that the referee makes his decisions. I mean, you're saying there, Hayes maybe thinking it's better if Celtic go down to 10 men. Surely it's better if you go in 2-0 up. There was only about 20 minutes to go. Mm-hmm. It didn't look as if Celtic were going to score at that point. It's 2-0, the game's over. So I think if Hayes had the chance to take that one back, he probably wouldn't get down as easy and he'd try and stick it past Bain. No, I absolutely agree. And I suppose maybe will I go round two and I'll leave you to it. David Turnbull, red card or not?
Surely you can't complain about that one. If that was a record, the foul's already been given. Kicks out at Dylan McGregor. Okay, he's not absolutely hoofed him, wellied him, but he swiped his legs away. The foul's already been given. That little nyaff goes and does that. I don't know how that's not a red card. because it's not even like it's just off the ball. The ball's not even in play. But I'm looking forward to having another centre midfielder to hate for next season anyway. That's at least one thing that's coming up. Can you complain about it, Colin? What are you reckoning?
Can I complain about the decision?
Yeah, the fact
or just in general?
The fact I think it's a red card.
Do you know, I'd love to just to wind you up, but I can't. It should have been a red card.
I think you should.
Let's be honest. I could have had him going for a couple of minutes, but I didn't want to. He's already been through enough. No, it was cynical. It's silly. I think it shows that he's still a young player. He's still got to learn that he can't just lash out like that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Scott Brown had done that last night. And it might not even have get booked because that's the way Scott Brown's kind of character is. But you're really not expecting that from David Turnbull. And I'm sure that it's something he'll regret because it looks as if he could potentially be banned for a game or two. And do you know what? He's got so much of an upside to him. He doesn't need that side to his game. The frustration coming through, he's lucky to get away with a yellow, if we're perfectly honest. I just wish I could have wound you up a wee bit more.
You know, I think that did sum up Celtic's frustration at that moment in time. But you speak about getting bans there. I don't think we will see a ban for him, because the Euros are coming up and we can't be banning our players for ahead of the Euros. Isn't that right, Mr. Gerrard?
They're young, that will ruin their careers. No, I'm not saying it anymore. That's it.
No, I know. I thought I'd get that in there, just just before the other Celtic fans that were probably tuning into this pipe up with that comment. Don't worry, Steven Gerrard's already got David Turnbull's defence lined up for him there. So, and I think though, given the fact that he was booked, I doubt we will see any retribution or whatever it's called.
Retrospect.
Trial by that's the one. Yeah, thank you. Private education there.
Yeah, exactly. Where's that going? The school fees, eh?
But you spoke about there, Colin, about the highlights for the offside goal for Odsonne Edouard. Didn't even make Sports Scene's highlights, that kick out from David Turnbull.
No, it didn't make it, but it did end up under the spotlight afterwards. Which
Callum
I think is I think it's a deliberate thing with Sports Scene now, where they'll not focus it as part of the main highlights, but they go into what they class as deep analysis afterwards. I think that on a kind of separate point on Sports Scene, the amount of coverage they give Scottish football is shocking. Yeah. For everything that happened in that game last night, there's instances we spoke about you won't see in that highlights package. That was pathetic. And Stephen Thompson's a terrible host. Move on.
And I did enjoy Rangers fans taking the moral high ground over Turnbull's kick out, not like Morelos does that week in, week out either. So it's just one as bad as the other, I suppose. Well, Colin, we spoke in the preview show about not giving Celtic chances, and if we give Celtic enough chances, they'll punish us. You've already mentioned that you didn't look like scoring, but when you've got a player like Leigh Griffiths in your team, he just needs one chance, doesn't he?
I mean, we were speaking about it on the Axon Bulletin. You'd think he'd be trying to play his way into the Scotland team for the Euros, considering who the attacking options actually are. I mean, obviously the greatest striker Scotland's ever had in Ollie McBurney is now out injured. Very, very much sarcastic there. Please do not take that seriously. I mean, you take a look at it. Who's really in front of him? You got Che Adams, Lyndon Dykes. You're going to take
Lyndon Dykes is scoring for QPR just now.
Definitely. So you're probably going to want to take 3 or 4 strikers to the Euros. You got to think if Griffiths can maybe get a run of games, then he'll kind of play himself into it. And as you said, one chance was all they really needed. I really thought Aberdeen should have closed down Elyounoussi a lot tighter than what they did. Let them get that ball over. And Leigh Griffiths, for being not the tallest man in the park, really has a good jump in the air. And I don't think Woods could have done anything at all about it. And I think there's probably a sickening bit for Callum was literally the last kick of the game.
And it's interesting, Colin says there, you don't think Woods could have done anything for it. Do you think he could have come for the cross, Callum?
I'm not going to say a bad word about Gary Buddy Woods. What a man. So close to Thomas Cherney-esque status there. But no, I don't know. I think it's maybe harsh. It's probably nitpicking at that stage. If anyone's going to stop it, then it has to be one of the 3 men around Elyounoussi for the cross.
Yeah, and I think, well, even Considine, I think he gets caught under the ball. You know, Lewis Payton saying on Twitter last night that if Ash Taylor's on the pitch, you know, he's kind of that no-nonsense defender that doesn't really get beaten often there. You know, we spoke about it on this show before with the guys from A View on the Terrace when they said that the only player that's better in the air defensively this season has actually been Shane Duffy. I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or not, that Ash Taylor's up there alongside him, but yeah, we really need to be stopping that cross. Calvin Ramsey, Matt Kennedy, probably like Lewis Ferguson and Dean Campbell, had run themselves into the ground. But Celtic had been so quiet throughout the game. You know, their last 2 away games, no goals. But as we discussed earlier in this show, that's 38 games in a row now at Pittodrie that they've scored. The last time they didn't was the infamous snowball game back in December 2001.
I was 2 years old then, so that tells you how long ago it was. It was an absolute sickener of a blow, that Griffiths one. I was just absolutely livid last night. Thankfully, I've calmed down a little bit, a smidgen, but
just a smidgen.
We've seen it so many times, though, haven't we? It's typical.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, Colin, I suppose from a Celtic point of view, the pressure finally paid off. You mentioned the Dundee United game earlier. We said, you know, 23 shots throughout the game last night, 71% possession. But do you feel, okay, you got the goal, you got the equaliser. Did last night for you sum up Celtic in front of goal this season or sum up Celtic's season as a whole? Yeah,
I don't think you could have put that much better. It was very lacklustre from Celtic in front of goal. The amount of chances, as you say, it only took Lee Griffiths really that one chance to put it in the back of the net. You just wonder if he was on the park earlier, like we suggested in the previous show, what could it have been last night? Some of the chances that Edward had, Turnbull in the second half, or the one that kind of just runs across goal. There were so many chances that they had. 23 shots. If you're only returning one goal from 23 shots, you've got to work on that, surely. It can't just constantly not be your day in front of goal. There's obviously something that's not going well. Yeah, sorry, Callum. It was the last kick of the ball. But yeah, we spoke about it. Lee Griffiths potentially out of contract next season. I mean, again, it's someone that could maybe find himself a new home up in the northeast. But when he's continuing to do that, his value is only going to continue to rise as well. So, I don't know, will he get another year at Celtic? I'm not sure he will. I think his time's probably coming to an end. But if he continues to sign off like that, then he's got every right to go in and say, I've still got an option for 12 months on my deal. Do you want me?
And even with Patrick Klimala leaving the club today, you still think Lee Griffiths doesn't have a future?
I just think Lee Griffiths has been a good servant to the club, but over the last couple of seasons, you've not been able to rely on him to put in 25, 30 games a season, which you really need to do when you're the kind of main man in front of goal for Celtic. We spoke in the previous show about the time when he scored 40 goals under Ronnie Dyler, which basically stopped Aberdeen from getting the title that season.
Thanks very much if Callum wasn't already upset enough.
He's never going back on.
But that's 5 years ago. I mean, he's just not been able to hit that level, and this is almost as if he's peaked so early into his career that if he wants to extend it, a bit very similar to the way Scott Brown is, even though he's a lot younger than Scott Brown, he probably needs to extend it out with the Goldfish Bowl of Glasgow. Aberdeen might not be the worst career move for him, and I think that's now 6, 7, maybe a couple of more goals. He'd be one of the top goal scorers up in Aberdeen this season at that rate.
It definitely would be, but
sorry, Callum.
Again,
Callum, what I was going to ask you though was Stephen Glass kind of set us up. We were passing from the back. We got in behind Celtic's fullbacks at ease, I think, throughout. I don't know, Colin, if you think that's fair, saying that.
Fair, yeah.
It's something that us as keyboard warriors, or the vocal minority on social media that Dave Cormack likes to refer to us as, have been kind of highlighting as a way of getting at Celtic. And McInnes is sometimes, we were critical of how defensive he was against Celtic, but it was refreshing to see us take the game to Celtic. And I think Willie Garner was right at full time saying, yes, it feels like a defeat, but we've got to be positive at the performance that we put in last night.
I think that's one of the reasons I felt so gutted by it last night, by that goal. The fact there was so many positives to take, and we still didn't come away with 3 points. The way we defended, it looked very organised. The way we broke against Celtic looked a lot quicker on the counter-attack than previously, a lot more urgency, higher tempo. Still don't come away with it. But there's a lot of positives to take forward going into next season, going into the rest of the split, the Scottish Cup as well to play for. It just adds to frustration in a way. But if you step away from the result, look at the performance alone, we've got a good reason to be confident going forward.
Yeah, I think if you think about it, the old cliche is Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
And the Aberdeen side that played last night compared to the Aberdeen sides that Celtic have come up against previously this season, you could see the kind of level that they'd stepped up to. I think back to maybe even the Scottish Cup ties or the performances at Celtic Park this season, and they certainly created a lot more and caused Celtic a lot more trouble. What you've got to do, and I think it's where Celtic's really lacking in this part of the season, is you want to build that momentum between now and the summer. It encourages the fan base to go, well, I want to get behind this team. They've shown me just a glimpse of what they can do. If I put my money into the club, if I renew my season ticket, or will you guys renew your DNA subscriptions and stuff like that? No, okay, sorry. But if you continue to invest into the club, then you're going to see maybe an enhanced product on the park. You're trusting the management team to go out and bring in the performances. Whereas at Celtic, we still don't even know who's going to be the manager next season. So it's very difficult to invest emotionally within that. And I think that's why a lot of Celtic fans last night, even when the ball went into the back of net, was like, oh, brilliant. Yeah, it's a point. Yeah. You know, there wasn't really that attachment to it.
No, that's an excellent point, Colin. I mean, DNA, touchy subject for many. For me, not for me, because money doesn't buy loyalty points. Loyalty points has got to be earned by attending the games. That's all I'll say on that. But it is. I understand why people will invest in it. Those of you that are maybe tuning in that live abroad. I know that the Tenerife Supporters Club tune into this, and they invest in DNA as a way of supporting the club financially by not being able to attend. But for me, as a fan that goes week in, week out and earns my loyalty points that way, I don't really see a reason why we should get more loyalty points just by putting more money into the club. That's for me. That's a different subject altogether. Certainly
different podcast for a different day. Sorry, boys.
But it's an interesting point Colin makes, Callum, because yes, there was that sucker punch feeling. You've summed that up in the episode tonight so far. But over the Livingston game and the way we played last night for large spells, okay, was backs against the wall, but we gave Celtic a good game. Fans can invest in that, and we're going to be coming up soon, hopefully, to season ticket packages being announced. And if we keep these level of performances up over the next, hopefully, 7 games would see us to a Scottish Cup final. Fans are going to buy into it.
100%. Well, as a man who's considering not renewing under McInnes, not as a thing against him, but just the football is genuinely woeful, I'm 100% going to be renewing when the time comes around. I think a lot of fans probably feeling the same. I'm buying into it. I've been feeling a lot more engaged, far less apathy than over the last recent months in the past couple of games. And it's encouraging. It's very much encouraging. Hopefully we can see all fans getting behind Stephen Glass. And I'll hold my hands up. When he was appointed, I was a bit sceptical. But he's came in, first of all, saying all the right things and believe in everything he says. He can do no wrong. But we're starting to see things on the pitch as well, which is very, very nice. So if it continues to go that way, I can only imagine it'll be good things.
Yeah, he's certainly talking the talk. Even backing up his players. The Johnny Hayes incidents, which we've touched on as well. No card for Callum McGregor, but Stephen Glass picking up a booking for his protest there at the decision. So he's clearly got the passion and drive. And yeah, like you said, Callum, both of us were sceptical. Is it a job for the boys? But he stepped up, and when we've touched on Alan Russell, it's a sexy management duo, and there's been some sexy football on show the last couple of games.
Very much encouraging all round, and I'm all for it.
Colin, were you surprised at how much problems we caused you last night, or is it just a case of you guys have switched off?
I think, as I was saying in the preview show, the game was more for Aberdeen than what it was for Celtic. I mean, there is still the faint hope of getting into the third place spot. I think it was
Well,
at 6
now,
points.
thanks.
6 points behind with 3 to play. I mean, mathematically, it's still there.
I mean, we need an 11-goal swing as well.
Yeah, just win the 3 games and Hibs will lose the 3. It's easy done.
Yeah.
You still got to play Hibs, haven't you? So, I mean, that's a 6-pointer.
It's a shame we've got to go to Ibrox on Trophy Day.
Well, there's only one way to rain on that parade, isn't there? You've done that at Celtic Park before, so
yeah, which is very true.
Possible. But no, I mean, Aberdeen really needed the 3 points last night to get into that third place race, and obviously with the Hibs game kicking off earlier in the day, I think everybody knew by the time kick-off arrived that it really was a must-win for Aberdeen, and they did play like that. As I said, just the chances that were missed by both teams, I mean, that could have easily finished 6 each last night, the chances. And again, it's just a case for Aberdeen not holding on. Last kick of the ball, you just wonder, maybe, as I said, that extra bit of experience with Scott Brown, would that really have happened? Not having Joe Lewis in goals. So there's a lot of things that can be put down to, but no, I think Aberdeen gave Celtic the challenge that I think most fans were expecting last night.
And even the Scott Brown influence and kind of killing the game. But Callum, I think it was yourself. You made actually a valid point. Killing the game in terms of substitutions. Conor McLennan sitting waiting on the touchline would have wasted about 30 seconds in making a substitution. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. If he did come on, would the goal still have happened? I know, but something as small as that kills time that prevents Celtic possibly scoring.
I was concerned when you said I made a valid point there. That does not sound like me. Last night I was very much nitpicking, overthinking absolutely everything, clutching at any straw. The fact they had Conor McLennan stripped, ready to go, and we had a corner with a goal kick with a minute to play. They could have thrown him on. Everything changes. The whole course of the game changes. I wouldn't have been in a pit of misery, but it's just one of those things, isn't it?
It's one of those Stuart Armstrong moments against England all over.
Thanks again, Colin. You've been on the line-up the whole time.
I mean, I don't know what was worse for me as well was the fact that the inevitability, like I said, when Lee Griffiths and Rogic came on, because at the time it felt like the goal was coming, only a matter of time, or the fact that in the 91st minute, Gemma's dad decided to text saying, "That's a great win for Aberdeen."
Oh.
Only for 30 seconds later, Lee Griffiths put the ball in the back of the net. So I hope he never texts me until the full-time whistle actually goes in future. But Colin, it's been great having you on the podcast this season. I know those of you that have been tuning in or watching the show have really enjoyed Colin's contribution. From myself, it's been really thankful that you've given up your time to contribute, and it's been very balanced from you as well, in both a Celtic point of view and also in your thoughts towards an Aberdeen perspective as well. So thanks very much for joining us this season.
No, it's been a pleasure, boys, and I look forward to the battles we'll have next season and the second run of the Scott Brown Derby.
Yeah, definitely. We've got that to look forward to, and maybe it will be the battle for second or first between us. Who knows?
Optimistic with first there. Optimistic.
Stephen Glass Showtime Dons. Let's do this.
That's very true, very true. But yeah, I completely echo as well. Thank you, Colin. Next season, please don't wind me up so much. Thank you.
Well, hopefully when this is all over, we'll catch up and we'll have a couple of beers the next time you boys are in Glasgow. Yeah,
that would be good. And Colin, just before you go, just remind everybody where they can catch the Football Insomniac podcast.
Yeah, so the Football Insomniac is live on Friday nights at 6 p.m. on A State of Mind YouTube, and you can find me on Twitter at Colin88Watt.
That's perfect. And for those of you that maybe of a Celtic persuasion that are tuning into this episode, make sure you follow and subscribe to the Celtic State of Mind. And if you're enjoying our chat, why don't you subscribe to our channel as well? That'd be great. Well, thanks again to Colin for joining us on Red Tinted Glasses. It's been great having him on this season, and we look forward to working with him again next season. But Callum, our attention now turns to cup matters. Chance of silverware as Dundee United come to town on Sunday. The game live, of course, on the BBC, 2:30 kickoff. Given the way we've played last night and the last cup game against Livingston, are you excited by this game?
I'm excited. I was engaged for 90 minutes of football at the time of recording last night, and for the first time probably since about November. So I think I'm looking forward for more of the same. Yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward for more of the same. I've fully bought into the Stephen Glass Showtime Reds revolution. I'm looking forward to Sunday. And who wanted to do well in the league anyway? We'll just win the cup instead. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'd be a nice way to pit Hibs to that playoff place in the Europa League if we could do so. And I think, given, like you touched on there, what we saw last night in terms of the performance, as we've discussed there with Colin, there is plenty to be positive about for the first time in a long time.
Exactly. It's a weird feeling. I said last night at the time of recording, but not last night now. I felt gutted about that, but I was actually really into it, and it's not just apathy. There is things to be positive about, and it's weird going from on the back of a 1-1 draw with Celtic, being gutted, but having so many positive feelings from the game. It's weird. It's very odd. I'm not used to it. I'll get used to it, maybe, hopefully.
Yeah, and I totally agree with your point about being engaged throughout the game. The game was so finely balanced, and you really were glued to what was going on. And I suppose on the back of a game like that, a cup quarter final would have been the perfect game for fans to then build on that excitement, and hopefully we can. And when you look at Gary Wood's performance last night, likely to continue in goals, that was an area of concern for us before the Celtic game, but it definitely filled us with loads of confidence with the way he played.
Yeah, 100%. Didn't really put a foot wrong, in my opinion. Distribution looked very, very good. Distribution better than Joe Lewis's, perhaps. And what I'm thinking, possibly next season, if that's the way Stephen Glass is going to be playing, can Joe Lewis do that? Or will he be looking for a keeper with better distribution? But no, very happy with Gary Woods. Very close to Thomas Cherney-esque cult status, I feel. Had we won last night, he probably would have. But very comfortable with him going into the game on Sunday, to be honest.
Yeah, and I suppose as we did discuss, there was maybe could he have claimed the cross that led to the equaliser or not? But it's all in the past now, I suppose. But looking ahead to Sunday, the way the game went for us last night, where I think Fraser Fivey picked up on it, we looked a bit leggy in midfield. Given we did 120 minutes penalties against Livingston, played in a day, which was a day after Dundee United played Forfar. We then had the later kickoff, and it was a tough game against Celtic. Celtic had 70% possession, so there was a lot of defensive work that we've done. A couple of training games, and you noticed as well, better than I did, that Dundee United actually rested players last night. So do you think for us fitness could be an issue on Sunday?
I think, Mr. Kinnis sort of prided us on our fitness, and I suppose Glass will probably be doing the same. But yeah, they did look leggy last night. Very, very tough 90 minutes after 120 against Livingston. It is a concern because looking at the Dundee United team, Shanklin didn't play, Reynolds didn't play, Clark didn't play in their game last night.
McNulty didn't even play either, so they rested all their strike force.
Exactly. So they will be fresh and ready to go, but I've got faith in us getting back up for it, getting going again. Confidence from a very, very good performance as well might help give them a little bit more. I think we'll be all right. Maybe. I'm saying it out of hope more than anything else, to be honest.
Yeah, and I suppose we've also got a bit of motivation to go and right the wrongs. Is that maybe the right thing to say of the manner of last night's result? Like, try and get a victory, because I suppose you could argue he's had 2 draws in the 90 minutes, so we need to go and get that win in 90 minutes. That would be nice. It
did sort of feel like a loss, that one, against Celtic, so it's a good opportunity to bounce back, essentially.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, when we're speaking of fitnesses, obviously we've had Niall McGinn's had lots of minutes in his legs recently, but Johnny Hayes will probably continue at left back, given Jack McKenzie's ineligibility. But Ross McCrory picking up an injury or a knock against Celtic, saw Calvin Ramsey come in for minutes. outstanding performances we've already discussed, but once again going down with cramp towards the end of the game. So maybe concerns around him for another game so quickly after, and whether or not he'd be able to last the 90 minutes.
Yeah, I think that is a little bit of a concern. He's 17 as well, and
yeah, I mean, it's not a complaint against him, obviously. It's just a highlight.
But it does sort of emphasize. But it just makes me think of the point Jack Grimmer said when we interviewed him, when he said like after about 80 minutes he was just absolutely knackered. He didn't know how they did it every week. Just tough on the legs, young lad who's probably not played that much football, given lack of 20s football, no loan. A little bit of concern going into that with McGregor being out. I presume he will be anyway. But no concerns of him on the park when he is there. That's for sure, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And like you said, the Jack Grimmer interview there, if you haven't watched or listened, make sure you go back and tune in. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube as well, because we've got another interview coming out with a former academy graduate. We spoke to Cammy Smith before the game yesterday. Great to chat to him, and he kind of mentioned something similar about the kind of adrenaline wearing off when making your debut at a young age, but also some interesting topics that I think were relevant to the McInnes era. Speaking something that we've been critical of on the podcast about young players only getting sparing minutes and what that does for their confidence. So some really good insights in that interview, including discussing the cup run. So we had a good chat with him though, didn't we, Calum?
Thoroughly enjoyed it, but I also enjoyed that blooming segue, a little promotion there, Glenn. That was so professional. Brilliant. Well done.
I know. Back to on the field matters then. We saw a set piece goal, as we've discussed in the game last night. I know. Sit down, everybody. But how encouraging was our forward play? I know we didn't see it often enough, maybe, because I think we set up to hit Celtic on the counter-attack, but Glass seems to know how to work out the opposition, and Alan Russell's really impressed me if he's just making slight tweaks, because we're creating a hell of a lot more than we certainly were at the start of the year.
We're creating some stuff. That would be more. That would be more. But yeah, very impressive. I can't remember exactly the statistics or anything, but it was when Alan Russell came in, someone mentioned how much England's set pieces improved when he joined them. And all of a sudden, we've scored for a set piece. We've been calling for it for absolutely ages. We need to improve on them, be more of a threat. That's already started happening. And that's after, what's he been, a week working with the team? And they're already getting their ideas in the players' heads. It's very, very encouraging. They're looking a lot better going forward. And that's one of the reasons I'm very, very excited. I'm fully bought into it.
Yeah, and I was even impressed last night, I know we've spoken about it already, was Matty Kennedy's performance. The way he linked up on the right-hand side with Ross McCrory initially, and then even Calvin Ramsey laterally. A player that's really seemed to get a kick up the rear end under new management. And Canberra, I suppose, to an extent as well, looked lively last night. We saw him grab his first goal for the team in the last round as well. And Callum Hendry getting a start, a rare start, I suppose, for him. But it's just little small signs of encouragement that we haven't had for so long, and hopefully we can build on to get us a trip back to Hampden. Well, the players, obviously, we as fans will be able to go.
100%. It's the little things, isn't it? Another thing about, we mentioned Canberra there. Obviously, he was sort of out left, but the work rate he put in to get back and help out his fullback as well, I was very impressed with. Fivey mentioned that, maybe he'll get caught out. And I thought, yeah, that was my worry as well. But there were a few times he made sure he got back there. I was very impressed with that. Putting in that work rate, very happy. But you mentioned a little trip to Hampden there. We need to win on Sunday, don't we? We absolutely have to. Given that blow of their goal last night, we need to lift the spirits, get us to Hampden, minimum. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's funny there you mentioned Fivey and Canberra. There's almost a personal vendetta going on between the two, the way Fivey was laying into him at times.
A little bit, but he did say, like, I thought, he even owned up to that when he said, I thought he would maybe get caught out, but he's tracked back there. There's one where he sort of shepherded the ball out and John Joe Kenny was chasing the ball. So fair play to him. I actually quite enjoyed Fivey on the commentary, to be honest.
Yeah, he was good at it. My only problem was how critical he was of Canberra, but I suppose we've been exactly that as well. I think given that the way he was performing, I didn't think he really deserved the level of criticism. Dean Campbell, man of the match performance last night. I know we've discussed it already, but great to see him kind of flourishing in a game like that. Lewis Ferguson obviously getting a goal, continuing to be top scorer, but we've spoken for so long on here about our midfield and needing to kind of put a stamp on a game. Again, so great to see that last night, and hopefully we can see that continuing on Sunday, because God knows it's going to be important for a team. We've got to remember, we've not scored against Dundee United, let alone beaten them this season. And
it's a team with a very, very hard midfield. I would possibly say you got Callum Butcher in there, Giandro Fuchs as well last time, punished us. But it's going to be another big battle on Sunday. And Dean Campbell, I've got faith in him to be up for it now. People have been slagging him off. I'm happy with Dino. Yeah,
and I think if you just even have to look at his interview at the end of the game, we've touched on already just how much it means to him that result hurt him. So, but for our point of view, we spoke about the improvement we've made in the forward areas. How important could it be to us? When we touched on this in the preview, from an Aberdeen point of view, with missing Joe Lewis, if Benjamin Siegrist doesn't play for Dundee United, that could be psychologically for us really, really good, because he's been fantastic every time he's come up against us, and obviously his replacement conceding 3 in 11 minutes last night.
100%. Ben Siegrist has been a bane of our season so far. He's been absolutely brilliant. Don't wish any injury on anyone, but I hope he's not back for Sunday. Let me say that much. They're the depute. Was that the right word?
Deputy,
yeah. That's the one. It's the private education working for you. Well done. Not quite up to the standard, and as you say, conceding 3 goals in 11 minutes to Kyle Lafferty, who was the only real difference, obviously, between those two teams. Because I watched the highlights, both as bad as each other. Bloody awful.
Yeah, Perry missing a couple of sitters there for United as well, but it's going to be a close game, I feel. I don't really know how much squad rotation we can utilise, because I think it's been fair to say that Glass's favoured experience in the first 2 games, and there's nothing to suggest, obviously, the importance of this game, why he would differ from what he's done so far.
No, I think probably the only contentious starting spot will be up top. Who plays out of the 3 there? None of them really on hot form, to say the least.
Continuing what you said as well from last time, that none of the starting strikers have scored yet.
Exactly, it still goes on. I think maybe McGeoch might come in as well, possibly. That might be another one, a bit of rotation. But in terms of, obviously, defence, there's not really any other option. I think we've got 4 fit defenders maybe then, now that McCrory's out. Is that about it? Well, if you don't include, obviously, Jack McKenzie, who's cup-tied. So.
And who are you bringing Dylan McGeoch in for?
Didn't think of that. Honestly, didn't think of that. That's what I'm saying. But I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking maybe with how leggy Campbell was, he might come in for him. I hope not. I hope Campbell keeps his place, but we'll see.
Yeah, I suppose you've got. I mean, he's a reliable player. Is McGeoch? You could see the decision behind it, but I think given the kind of performances we've seen from Dean Campbell, it would be a shame to see him drop out. I do worry about the legs on McGinn and Hayes, possibly given the workload. But as you've touched on there, the fitness that McInnes has drilled into these players, we certainly hope that doesn't become an issue. Speaking of though fitness, do you think it could be an issue if it did go to extra time? Let's hope we don't have another cup weekend that goes the distance.
That would be worrying, but then again, against Livingston, we sort of took control in extra time. That's where probably our fitness shone through there. So it could be the same again. But obviously, with given how much Dundee United rotated, in the midweek, that is what the main concern is. But I also just hope it doesn't go to extra time because I don't think I can deal with it again, to be honest.
No, we just like to get the job done, and I think the way we played yesterday certainly gives us a lot of encouragement that we could do a number on United this weekend. And like you said, after the disappointment of last night making it feel like a defeat, God knows we only need that little bit of positivity for something to look forward to, and hopefully to keep the hope of silverware returning to the club very much alive. And I really liked how measured Stephen Glass was in his post-match comments last night, and even the way he kind of worked out Celtic, I think gives me encouragement that he is very tactically astute.
I think so, yeah.
I think he'll know how to get a number on Mickey Mellon's Dundee United squad, and if he's doing maybe the tactical side of things, I kind of got the impression last night from some of the camera shots of the management team that Alan Russell was doing a lot of the barking of the orders during the game.
Yeah, it sort of did seem that way. It seems like a very nice balance they've got going there. It'll be interesting to see what Scott Brown then adds to the mix when he comes in. But I'm very much buying into this Stephen Glass, Alan Russell dynamic. I'm loving it. It's the handsome duo as well, and it's
very
working.
Handsome.
What more could you want?
I mean, they ooze so much sex appeal. I mean, way more than we can certainly do. I mean, we do try.
What are you talking about, mate? Got to see the new haircut.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've even done mine as well. So, we're making the effort here, guys.
I know. I hope they appreciate it.
I know. I really hope they do. But I think, given what we've seen so far, the attacking side of play, but certainly more passing football, which, as Keith said to me last night, is certainly more pleasing on the eye, and from what we've seen in McInnes's kind of hoofball, so to speak. There's signs there that if we can get the right sort of player in over the summer, and maybe he only needs a couple, who knows what he's going to do with the squad, we can get something there. And let's hope that when we come back next week, we're speaking about a semi-final.
I really, really hope so. It'd be really nice to have something like that to look forward to, wouldn't it, Glen?
That would be great.
Yeah, God knows we need something to look forward to. No, and I feel like the work Stephen Glass has done already, he deserves it. It'd be so nice with it, but also be very hilarious if he went on and won the Scottish Cup after years of failing to under McInnes, wouldn't it?
Well, I did say we were hitting a glass ceiling
there you
under
go.
McInnes, so could Glass break the glass ceiling?
Little did we know, eh?
Anyway, that is this episode, all for this episode. We will be back probably with you on Tuesday morning by the time we get the next episode released, as we will be recording our review of the Cup performance, hopefully a victory, on Monday, to get that out to you on Tuesday morning, and possibly get the Cammy Smith interview out to you all the back end of next week, since there's no midweek fixture. So once again, just thank you very much for tuning in. If you've been watching on YouTube, make sure you like the video, leave us a comment with your thoughts on how Stephen Glass has got on so far, and make sure you follow us as well where you're listening, and on Twitter at @RTG_podcast.